I got shit to do tonight, so I wasn't planning on coming live until tomorrow. But I got to, because there's a lot of stupid motherfuckers out here that had an issue with what I said about Cash Money versus No Limit. I think that there, I think that there should be how can I say this? I think that there should be like some sort of a blue check or a handicap sticker for niggas that had and there's no disrespect if this was you, because I had horrible reading comprehension too in school, but it took me a long time to figure it out, you know. But if you had like an IEP for reading comprehension, it should be some kind of a handicap check next to your Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram profile. Niggas will read something and then create a whole argument, and it ain't a goddamn thing you said. Hold on. There, it really should be. So let's break this down what I'm talking about. Yesterday there was No Limit versus Cash Money versus. I told y'all before, I ain't necessarily like either one of the labels that much. But No Limit to me by far was the more genuine article. And I liked them a lot more. Because I liked Mystical before I found out he was a fucking pervert. And my favorite Snoop album was The Last Meal, which was released on No Limit, not Death Row. My favorite Snoop album is The Last Meal. That's my number one of all time when it comes to Snoop. And y'all know I'm a huge Snoop fan in spite of that bullshit that nigga doing lately. Still love Snoop in spite of his bullshit. Well, anyway, the post I made, what I'm talking about is, I said this and I stand by it. The reason why No Limit won, because No Limit was grassroots all the way through. Not just the start, but the full time they existed as a label. Cash Money, although started independently, it did not get national prominence until Universal stepped in and put their machine behind them. And Cash Money really took off, of course, with the Hot Boys. That's after they signed with Universal. And then they controlled basically the decade of the 2000s with Lil Wayne, and later on they brought in Drake, and they brought in Nicki Minaj later on. All people who were industry plants. So, and another thing I'm going to say is, for all you regional niggas, shut up. I'm going to say this before I even get started. I know at some point I'm reading comments, somebody will say, we not from the South. We live in the United States, you goofy dickhead. The same games that get played in the South get played in Philadelphia, the Midwest, LA, and everywhere else. We live in the United States of America. The only difference between the South, the East, the West, and the North, and the Midwest is a slight difference on how the same shit is executed. The same shit is executed around the nation, slightly different depending upon the region. But it's the same shit. So shut your stupid ass up and listen, all right? Because if you dumb regional niggas will listen, you'll learn something, okay? You'll learn that there's only one experience in America, and that's the Black American experience. When it comes to how our business is handled, and when it comes to how the government handles us. So before you come in with your regional banging, get your mouth off your dick and listen, okay? I like, you niggas are the worst. Like I keep saying, hip hop fans are the worst. Like, hip hop is one of the worst things that happen to Black American music, because it's too much ignorance is allowed in hip hop, and too much unchecked ignorance. Way too much unchecked ignorance in hip hop. So let's get down to it. In the late 90s, after the Telecommunication Act of the 96, and really into the 2000s, you started seeing the majors really gaffle up things that black Americans create. This is how business works. The small independents, black and also white ones too, like white labels like Casablanca Records back in the 70s. You start something, you create a machine. The majors, the corporations run real slow. Corporations are retarded. They just have a lot of money. They don't know how to start shit. Corporations are very retarded. They don't know how to start shit, and they don't know how to really. They have a machine, but they don't really know what to do, how to penetrate markets. What they do is they allow the independents to create a market, create a supply chain, create a demand, find talent, find audiences to meet that talent. And once an independent does that, the majors come in and swoop them up and try to duplicate said process. Majors don't create processes. They allow the small independents to create processes, and then they mimic the process with their money. Okay? So when I said what I said about Cash Money, about No Limit getting out the mud, excuse my ignorance for assuming intelligence. Now, this isn't at everybody. 70% of y'all got it, what I was saying. 80% of y'all got what I was saying. Because I tend to assume intelligence. I don't think I'm talking to dumb motherfuckers. But dumb motherfuckers always find a way to say, hey, look at me, I'm stupid. Okay, so I thought that was kind of already, in parentheses. My bad for not breaking it down to preschool levels for some of you stupid niggas, okay? So what happened with No Limit and Cash Money is what's been going on since Black Swan Records in 1923. Black Swan Records was the first black-owned record label, and they put out a lot of your early, what became known as jazz, stride. They found and cultivated black artists and markets for black audiences. And once they did that, the majors came through and bought them up. Same thing with VJ Records in the 60s, in the early 50s. VJ Records discovered how to find white acts that made black money, black music. So VJ Records is the first record label to put out the Beatles, only to be sued to smithereens and bought for pennies on the dollar by the majors. This has been going on for a long time. So when it happens in hip hop, the issue is most hip hop niggas don't know shit before 1992. So when it happens in hip hop, they think it's the first time. They're looking like, no, that's not what happened. No, nigga, it's the same shit that's been going on. In the 90s, in the late 60s, Dr. Logan Westbrooks, and he talked about how majors come in and swoop up the minors. In my interview with Dr. Logan Westbrooks, y'all heard him talk about how, they saw CBS. He was the first black executive over CBS Records and over Capitol Records. And they saw how black music was really taking over, but they didn't know how to penetrate the black market. You had Motown, you had Curtis Mayfield, you had Brunswick, you had all these different labels that were pushing black music. Independents, Chess Records on a small level, white level. They went pretty big. Yeah, white and black owners that were pushing black music, but the majors didn't know how to do it. So what they did was they hired Dr. Logan Westbrooks to work at Capitol Records and to create a black division. And what they did was they went ahead and put money behind Philadelphia International, Gamble and Huff. And what they did in a lot of different black art, you saw when you look at the early 70s, they started buying up different labels that have and creating black divisions. But what they did initially was they left the black divisions alone and let the black divisions do their own music, and they just collected the money. When you get to the late 70s, that's when they start to make the move. And the labels that they started to squeeze the distribution out of the black labels. And they started telling the black labels, no more of this soulful music. You need more music that's going to go pop and crossover. And they started forcing black music into crossover as you got into the 90s. And if you didn't do crossover, you basically got kicked out. You're out the Motown had to sell this distribution to MCA. And a lot of your smaller black artists had to they basically got kicked out of the music industry in the early 80s. And they, for the most part, had complete control over black music until hip hop came. Hip hop came, and then you saw you saw explosion of black independent music, mid 80s through the mid 90s. And there was a man named Master P, and this is why I get away from all that regional beefing. For all you stupid niggas that want to be like, well, it's the South, it's the South, it's the South. Master P learned his game from Oakland, okay? From the Bay. No Limit Records started as No Limit Record Store in Richmond, California, okay? There's only one common bond we have, and that's blackness. Blackness shows its beautiful head in the South, in the North, the Midwest, in the West, in the East. Wherever you have black America, you have the sauce. The sauce is not confined to any region. Okay? The sauce is not confined to any region. I don't know. Maybe it's because back in the 80s and the 90s, niggas from the North was talking all kind of shit about y'all from the South because y'all accents. Maybe y'all got some kind of complex, but knock it off. Get over it. If you do got a complex, fucking get over it, nigga. You black. That's all that matters. So, and if you say jokes that aren't funny, my mods will time you out, okay? Jokes are very easy. And if you find jokes hard to get, if your jokes have a hard way of making people laugh, you will be banned from cracking jokes, okay? Just make sure your jokes are funny, or you'll be lifted up out of here. Now, back to what we talking about. Yeah, Boris shocked and both jokes better hit. So, Master P got his game from the Bay, from Richmond, California. He's up there because up in the Bay, and it's important you guys know this instead of all this stupid ass regional beefing. It's important that you guys know this. Well, Daryl Phillips, I'll give you 5 minutes to think of a funnier observation. Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes to think of a funnier observation. All right, now back to what we're talking about. So, what happened was in the Bay Area, they really popularized. The Bay Area didn't care about going national. The Bay and LA have different music scenes. The Bay has its own thing. That's one thing I love about the Bay. Them niggas got their own thing. The Bay don't give a shit about nothing else going on Earth outside of that Bay. But it's not an arrogance. They figured, like Too Short said, if I can sell a certain amount in this neighborhood, a certain amount in that neighborhood, that's what makes the Bay different from New York. New York is also insulated, but it's insulated in its borough. You got niggas fighting amongst boroughs. Versus in the Bay, you got people saying, hey, we can just own the Bay. Then we can stretch out to Sacramento, and then we can sort of stretch out down to LA and just share a market within California. So you had your MC Hammers, your Too Shorts, your E40s, You had these people who hustled it out the trunk, crossing neighborhoods, and that's what it was about. It was about becoming a millionaire locally, you know, and no need, no need to deal with the crossover people because we could make enough money just being black and just being in California. So Master P got soaked up with that Bay Area game, and he took it down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Yeah, a lot like Detroit. I mean, yeah, a lot like Detroit. The difference is niggas in Detroit got that mafia to deal with. The mafia wasn't necessarily in the Bay like that, but Detroit had to deal with the mafia. That's why Motown left. Motown left Detroit. A lot of that was due to the mafia. And so we hey Wallenberg, that's a stupid ass question. Hey, somebody give Wallenberg a 1 minute timeout for asking stupid ass questions. All right, now back to what we were talking about. So there's such thing as bad questions. Okay, this isn't school. It's some stupid questions, motherfucker. So we and so we and so Master P built that up. And so what Master P did when he signed his deal with Priority Records, what he did was the biggest thing, even though he got the money at 85-15 split, bigger than the money, he got independence. Independence on how he released his music, how many song albums he got to release, on the content of the music, and he put his own money up. So, and he wasn't stuck in that deadly loop called an advance. Where the industry gets a lot of artists is in those advances. Because you never seem to quite recoup what was advanced. They always got something that you didn't recoup that's stopping you from retaining your masters. There's always something. Though one thing about when you get those advances, every time, every cup of coffee in that studio, every pizza you order for being in that studio, that's all coming out of that. And you work, and it's damn near impossible to pay that shit back. When they saw No Limit come up in 96, and then by 98, No Limit is everywhere. 97, 98. And then No Limit went and signed the biggest act in rap, Snoop Dogg. That was a problem. That was the problem. So you gotta have a counteract to that. They're not gonna just take it down. You can't just take Master P away because now you got Louisiana popping off. So you can't just take all of Louisiana music away at this point. What you have to do is you have to create something in its place and bring something in its place. And Cash Money, Birdman had built a small independent label starting in 93, 94, sometime around there. They had a lot of local acts, a lot of local. So you see in Birdman, you got somebody who knows what he's doing. He knows how to find talent. He knows how to manage that talent. So you're Universal Records. At Universal, we didn't know this at the time, but they did. Universal basically had a plan to buy up almost everything that Sony and Warner didn't own. If Sony and Warner didn't own it, Universal was coming to get it. Universal got Motown. Universal got canceled this time. Universal got they were on their way to getting Def Jam. Universal's buying up everything. All right. So Universal gets Cash Money, and what they did was they gave Cash Money a $30 million advance. And when you get that advance, they now own how you operate. They now own what you can and can't put out. They now own how you move, who you sign. You don't have that level of independence when they load you up with 30 million of their dollars. Master P didn't take nothing from Priority, so Master P didn't owe Priority shit outside of records. So you get Cash Money gets advances, and Cash Money now, the Hot Boys drop. What was that, 98 when the Hot Boys dropped? 98, 99? That was 99 when they dropped. My last year in high school. And you now get Universal's Push. At the same time, 99, you really starting to see a big fracture between Priority Records and No Limit. The industry did not like Master P's deal. So the industry did what it could do to sabotage his deal. Lawsuits, distribution issues. They usually strangle the independence people through distribution. That's how they do it. Distribution is how independents are strangled. And what they did was they they did that, and so Cash Money starts to get pushed to the front. It starts to get pushed to the front. We're talking about, listen closely, Fresh Produce. We're talking about when Universal bought. You got to listen closely. This is a play by Universal. This isn't a fight. This isn't two niggas fighting each other like we are trying to make it seem like this nigga better than that nigga. No, this is a white boy choosing which nigga's gonna win and which nigga's gonna suffer. So, No Limit by 2000, I mean, they're everywhere, but at the same time, business wise, they're fledgling because of what's going on the underhand, business wise. Then in 2001, their deal with Priority ends, but instead of re upping a new deal, Universal buys Priority Records. And then, like, right, exactly, King Gambit, Universal then at that point put the pen down on No Limit because Universal bought Priority Records in 2001. And Universal constricted No Limit and basically ended No Limit Records and put his resources behind Cash Money. And the Cash Money records that was on Versus last night, the Cash Money records that we know of that made Cash Money go worldwide and put Cash Money on the map was the Universal backed Cash Money. Pre-Universal, Cash Money is an independent label that's only making waves in a small area of the country. They're not nationwide at that point. However, Master P pushed No Limit nationwide without advances from white money, from corporate money, I should say. Master P was able to take No Limit nationwide without the machine's backing. Only thing he needed was priority distribution, and he was able to take his concept nationwide without the money from the major corporate money. Birdman was only able to take his company nationwide after the major corporate backing. That's the difference. That's the difference. Lil Wayne became a nationwide phenom under Universal. And then let's pay attention to who came in, who Cash Money put out when they got when Universal bought Cash Money. Mind you, at that same time, Universal's buying Def Jam. Universal bought Island Def Jam. Universal bought Shady Records because that came under priority. They bought Shady Records. So basically, by the time you get to 2004, 2005, Universal basically owns hip hop. And Universal got to pick and choose after '05 what hip hop was hot and what hip hop was not. And not only did they buy a lot of hip hop, they bought a lot of R&B. They bought Motown. They bought a lot of Capitol Records, Blue Note. They bought a lot of your independent rhythm and blues music too. So what they did was they sucked the money out of R&B and they put the money over into hip hop. Sony and Warner did the same thing. The difference is Universal just owns a lot more than Sony and Warner. So rhythm and blues fell victim of this music industry consolidation. And like Lil Wayne or not, I'm not here to tell you who to like and who not to like. I'm a huge Snoop fan. I know Snoop be talking some bullshit. He talks some real shit too, but I'm mature enough to know as much as I like Snoop, he's nobody's Curtis Mayfield, okay? He's nobody's Ice Cube. What happened when you brought in Lil Wayne? Lil Wayne, after Eminem was the first rapper to push drug use. You got to ask yourself, what did we get when we got Cash Money? We now get the biggest rapper on the planet by the time '07, '06 comes around. That's Lil Wayne. That Carter era, post mixtape era. Dope mixtape, terrible album, Lil Wayne. Y'all remember them years? Lil Wayne's mixtapes is the shit. The albums are like, eh. But what did we get when we got Lil Wayne? Lean, drug use, syrup, blowing your mind out. And Universal used their resources to push that degenerate Lil Wayne message, completely taking away what did they say when they asked Lil Wayne about Black Lives Matter? I don't like that, all that political shit, man. I'm rich. I ain't black. All that, get away from me with all that black stuff. Remember that? A complete contradiction from '90s hip hop. Wayne was a complete contradiction. Let's pay attention. Rap of '96 versus 2006. Yeah, Wayne becomes a blood, and that happens. How Wayne became a blood, and I heard this from the horse's mouth himself. Y'all remember when Baron Davis went to the New Orleans Hornets? They were the Charlotte Hornets, and then they became the New Orleans Hornets. It's his brother. Y'all have heard Reggie Wright talk about Turn before. If any of y'all listen to Bomb First, Reggie White, y'all heard Reggie Wright talk about Turn. Turn used to kick it with BD, and when Wayne was like a teenager, Turn, put Lil Wayne on. He was the little hip hop nigga around the NBA niggas. Again, pushing degeneracy. Hey, I'm gonna say a quick little. Hey, I'm about to say something. Hey, for all my cool folks from the South, don't take this the wrong way. I'm about to say this next point just for all you niggas from the South that like talking shit about us on the West Coast. This next thing I'm gonna say is targeted only to those people. The rest of y'all down south, I love you. But for you Southern niggas that say the West Coast ain't got no culture, why is it that we don't pick up on what you do, but you pick up on what we do? Huh? How is it so easy to get the Bloods and the Crips down in the East Coast too? New York. How is it so easy for the Bloods and the Crips to go to New York? How is it so easy for the Bloods and the Crips to go to goddamn Little Rock, Arkansas? And if we ain't got no culture out here on the West Coast, how is it our culture get pushed up into your cities? That's just a question. I'm saying that because I hear this a lot being from the West Coast. The West Coast ain't got no culture. Everything the West Coast got is from the South. Why is it then the shit that we create here go your way and not the opposite? That's just a question. And I don't want to hear, oh, it's because of the media. No. Oakland never picked up on LA West blood crip culture. Oakland is the city closest to us. Oakland looked at LA because Oakland got culture. Oakland truly got culture. The Bay Area got culture. When LA niggas tried to go up to the Bay with that crip and blood shit, the Bay said, nigga, blood, get the fuck out my face, nigga. So I want niggas to think about that before they say the West Coast ain't got no culture. Now, let's get back to what we talking about. Let's get back to what we talking about, because that comment ain't for y'all in the chat room. It's gonna be somebody that makes a comment after the video that hears that part, and they gonna blow a fucking lid, and somebody's gonna write. I'm promising y'all, come back here in about 24 hours. Somebody's gonna write a whole paragraph to what I just said. But back to what we talking about. Back to what we talking about. So the industry picks and chooses winners and losers, okay? And Cash Money got pushed at the cost of other independent black hip hop and rhythm and blues labels. And what did Cash Money give us in return? Drug and thug culture. Lil Wayne made it acceptable to be a druggie. Pills. Lil Wayne turned us into fucking drug addicts. Somebody said, isn't Tukey Williams from Louisiana? What the fuck Tukey Williams got to do with this? You see how they like picking niggas up? Like, what, Tukey Williams? Nigga, Tukey didn't start when the Crips existed before Tukey Williams. You know that, right? Niggas love cherry picking that one dude from the South. And my question, for all you like to cherry pick, well, sentences came from the South. Well, why the fuck didn't they create that culture in the South then? You don't get credit. Nigga leave you, come over here and do some fly shit. Oh no, it's us. No, if it was you, it would have happened there. I promise you. Okay? If it was you, it would have happened there. I promise you. You pick up your culture and how to act in school, K through 12. K through 12 is what teaches you how to operate. That's a fact. People don't mature after high school. The high school pecking order exists all the way through every job. You think about it, Phil. For those of you who work in any kind of corporate world, in politics, the rules of high school are the rules you live by the rest of your life socially. Humans do not mature past the 12th grade. K through 12 is where you pick up your culture. You pick up your culture K through 12. Niggas like getting somebody, well, such and such was born in the South when he was 2. Well, cool. But they picked their culture up where? Thank you. Yeah, people just lie better as adults. No, don't nobody mature past 12th grade. Nobody. Like, if you mature past the 12th grade, it's because you've gone to therapy and you've had a conscious desire to mature. Most people don't have a conscious desire to mature. Most people just want to make some out there surviving. You just trying to live. You trying to pay your bills, go on vacation twice a day, and drive a nice car. The social pecking order stops at the 12th grade. So, because I get tired, I really get tired of people just trying to regionalize everything. No, we have a shared Black American experience from Seattle to Miami, from Boston to San Diego, from DC to San Francisco. It's in all points in between. We have a shared common experience. And one thing a lot of you niggas from the South and New York ain't realized is the reason why tethers have been able to infiltrate us because we've been so busy on this is the South. This is Philadelphia. Well, Philadelphia don't really claim this shit. Philadelphia actually be on code. Philadelphia just be like, yeah, whatever. Because Philadelphia can claim a hell of a lot more. Philadelphia does not speak up for itself too often, and neither does Chicago. Philadelphia, LA, Chicago, Oakland tend to just ride with it. They tend to just chill. DC also. They tend to just be like, whatever. But all that, this is from the South. It's a common Black American shared experience. And that New York regional beef, Brooklyn versus the Bronx, Harlem versus Queens, allowed a bunch of Jamaicans like Cool Herc to come in and say, hey, we brought it to you. The biggest goddamn crock of shit lie on the planet. But that was able to happen because the Bronx and Brooklyn was too busy fighting over who threw the first fucking party. That's how Cool Herc was able to slide in, and these people, that's how they were able to slide in the Cool Herc lie. You heard Melly Mel? Y'all remember, I covered that about a year ago. Melly Mel talking about hip hop. He said, hip hop ain't Black culture. He said, hip hop is New York culture. And then what did Melly Mel say after that? He said, no, hip hop is Bronx culture. Chat room, am I lying? Press the number 1 if you remember when I covered that about a year ago. Melly Mel said hip hop is Bronx culture. Y'all remember that? Like a spoiled little child. Everything in the genre you borrowed from and took from. It's that mindset when people like Melly Mel say hip hop is Bronx culture. That's what separated our sound from its mother, the blues, his grandmother, the blues and jazz, immediate parents, rhythm and blues and funk. You just separated, you just cut the child off at the umbilical cord because niggas want to play regional bullshit ass games. Yeah, King Gambit, that's how Africa Bambaataa was able to lie all this time. Because New York was too busy fighting over what part of New York deserved what is better than what. And New York has this superiority complex about itself that they allow Africa Bambaataa to have to push that lie just so New York can get the credit. Question. And here's how we check that. You always got to check what you say against something else. This is how we check that. Black Americans, we created every single form of music in America. Now, with that being said, does any other form of music have a clean start date and origin story like hip hop? Does jazz have a start date? Does blues have a start date? Does ragtime have a start date? Does boogaloo have a start date? Does disco have a start date? Even though we can name the first disco song, Love Unlimited, Love's Theme by Love Unlimited, we could actually point to a start to a first disco song and a second disco song, The Sound of Philadelphia. Does funk have a start date? Even though we can point to the first funk song, rock and roll, stride. Do any of these genres have a start date and a clean origin story like hip hop? That's how you know the origin story is bullshit and made up. Music is created on a continuum, and the common theme in Black America is different cities have been have played their role in playing different sparks in our sound. But any of our sounds that have taken off, they started to get sparked in multiple locations. Everything is a continuum. All right. We can point clearly to a lot of the jazz being started in New Orleans, but jazz went up the river, Memphis, and went into St. Louis, and went into Kansas, and St. Louis had its own version. Kansas City had its own version, Chicago, and it kind of flowers out. Disco had a polygenesis in L.A. and Philadelphia, the first disco songs. And then New York picked up on it, Chicago picked up on it, and then it sort of flowered throughout the country. Then you got forms of music like go-go. Go-go was sparked in D.C., but the rest of the country didn't pick up on go-go. So go-go didn't flame out. It's still very strong in D.C., but it's a very much so regional sound. Zydeco. Zydeco didn't move past southern Louisiana. Zydeco was started just like jazz in New Orleans, but jazz got picked up by the rest of Black America. Zydeco didn't. And that's the difference between jazz being the sound of America and Zydeco being a regional sound. New York created a spark for this thing called hip hop. But LA picked up on it, Chicago picked up on it, Philadelphia picked up on it, the South picked up on it, and it was through the multiple regions picking up on that spark is what allowed hip hop to thrive. It's the common thread of Black America. Now, House is out of Chicago. House started in Chicago. You got to give House to Chicago. And then Detroit, techno, and then New York and Jersey picked up on House. But both House, techno, Detroit, New Jersey, all of that is a child of disco. That's all disco. That's all electronic disco. West Coast G-Funk. G-Funk is what saved Def Jam Records. Like a lot of New Yorkers are talking all this shit like, okay, everything is New York. But Def Jam would have went out of business if it weren't for G-Funk, Warren G. How did G-Funk get started? Above the Law. Before Above the Law, West Coast hip hop was techno based. It was based in techno. That Egyptian lover stuff, all that's techno. It was rapping over techno in LA. And Above the Law started that G Funk. And then Dre picked up on G Funk. And then from there, G Funk became a sound that went nationwide. Yeah, a black woman named Tina Bell started grunge music in Seattle. But grunge stayed localized in Seattle because grunge wasn't picked up in the Bay and in other areas. So grunge became a regional sound that Nirvana picked up on. Like Black America didn't continue grunge nationwide, so Kurt Cobain got it, who was a roadie for Tina Bell. Kurt Cobain was a literal like equipment guy when Tina Bell was rocking Seattle. So Kurt Cobain and Nirvana picked up on grunge. And that's what happened with our music. If other black people don't pick up on it, other groups will pick up on it. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, Kurt Cobain did give us respect. Yes, he did. It's unfortunate how that man died. See, me, I don't have no issues with like as pro black as I talk. I ain't tripping on white folks, nobody else. Some white folks make good music. It's just about having the respect of us knowing what we created and continue and defining that. You got to put your name on buildings. You dig what I'm saying? I was watching the story yesterday about. I never knew how the observatory was built here in LA, but it was a man named Griffith Griffith. He was a wealthy white dude. In the 1898, he shot his wife, and because he was white and rich, he was able to plead drunk, and instead of getting manslaughter, he got assault with a deadly weapon. But he shot his wife. His wife lived. When he got out of jail after 2 years, he tried to build the Griffith Observatory. And the city was like, hell no, you're a fucking murderer. Get out of here. So what he did was he created a will and a living trust, and a will, whatever. And in his will, because he still owned that land up there, what's down on the Griffith Park, he still owned that land. And in his will, he wanted an observatory to mimic the Mount Wilson Observatory. He wanted to build an observatory on his land. And so after he died, they built that Griffith Park Observatory, which is the most visited observatory in the world. And Griffith now has a positive name throughout the annals of history because he put his name on a beautiful building, and a building that and the observatory is dope. You know, it's a good visit. I haven't been in years, but Griffith was a murderer who put his name on something great in death, and now his name is synonymous with something great. That's the power in naming what you own. It don't even matter how you lived. You could have literally lived a murderer, but you'll live through perpetuity a hero if you're able to name your creations, if those are creations that people enjoy. And black music is a creation that people enjoy. So we have to name it and own it and get out of this is New York, this is the South, you goofy ass dickheads. Because no sound is trapped in one region anyway. All the sounds share everything regionally. Or everybody shares regionally. Yeah, Roy Ayers, like Roy Ayers Was born and raised in L.A. He moved to New York when he was in his early 20s. And he wrote a song called We Live in Brooklyn, Baby. I love that song. But he has an LA smoothness to a New York edge in his music. You know? You got Donald Byrd. You know, I think Donald Byrd's from Detroit. But he lived a lot of his life in DC. But he came to LA to get a lot of his music produced. The acid jazz, like songs like Wind Parade, all that stuff. All that stuff was done in LA, produced by the Mizell brothers. Biggie's best rhymes came off of West Coast beats. Ice Cube's breakout album, America's Most Wanted, came from East Coast production. That's the common bond. You know one bond we don't have? Yeah, Pop Lock and Boogaloo both started in Cali, yep. You know one thing we don't have? You don't have not one there black American musician going to Jamaica for music production. Unless you're gonna do what Snoop did and release a goddamn reggae album. That's what you don't have. You don't even have Jamaican Americans going to Jamaica. Jamaica has a strong music industry. Name one hip hop act that went to Jamaica or Puerto Rico to complete an album. Name one. You don't have that, do you? So while these hip hop niggas would allow a Jamaican to come in and say, and you see how quiet these hip hop niggas are when these Jamaicans talk. Well, who the fuck went to Kingston to get an album to complete an album? The West Coast will come to the East Coast to complete a song. The East Coast will go down south. The South will come to the West. The Midwest will go to the East. But ain't nobody going to Jamaica or Puerto Rico. You did? Hey, I swear some of y'all don't be listening. I literally said, somebody said Snoop and somebody else just said Nas. I literally said, unless they went to Jamaica to do Jamaican music. Snoop went to Jamaica to create a reggae album. Snoop didn't go to Jamaica to create a rap album. Dude, this shit answers itself, people. Let's catch up. Let's catch up. Okay, you just gotta hear my bad. Yeah, but Snoop. Niggas will go to Puerto Rico to film a video. Hell yeah, that shit's beautiful. Niggas will go there. Niggas will go to the Caribbean to do a video all day, every day. Yeah, Snoop did catch a backlash for that video. Yep. But did y'all, for those of you who didn't see earlier today, I have a live, I'm not going to keep it up here on YouTube, but class number 1, I'm doing a complete 10-part series on the history of R&B. That's up right now here on YouTube. The first class is for free. Every other class is going to be exclusively on Patreon. So I need y'all to go to Patreon right now, patreon.com/DwannB. Sign up for the Music University tier. This is the most comprehensive, complete historical breakdown of the birth and the life of rhythm and blues, which is the root music for pop music in America and music across the world. Yeah, but appreciate that, Brian. Yeah, who was in the class earlier today? That was, you see how the classes are completely different than a YouTube show. I put a lot of time and effort into the classes, into the slides. So if y'all didn't see the show earlier, the first class, if you're interested in the history of R&B, we did that here on the channel. But you got to go to Patreon for the rest. That's a very good deal. It's a very good deal because the way the level we're teaching on in the Patreon is what you would get if you were to enroll into college. If you're enrolled to a community college to learn the history of a music genre, you're getting that level of education. I know because I took a bunch of music history courses in college, and I'm taking the same formula that was taught to me to give to y'all. Yeah, I saw the Detroit House doing that Parliament Funkadelic with a full symphony, and Brian, and I tried not to think about it because I'm mad I wasn't there. I should have been there for that. Hollywood Bowl need to do that shit, Parliament with a symphony. I wish I was there for that. So Jay Jimerson, what's up, Amir? Can I play any instruments? Yeah, I played the drums in church for 20 years. I speak drums. That's my language. All that chord shit, that all the niggas that sing and play piano, all them F binders over sevens, that shit confuses me. I don't do that. I know my lane. I speak drums fluently. Fluently. Oh shit, our people still play the drums? Shit, what you talk about? Chris Dave, Justin Tyson. Man, it's so many dope black drummers out there. I'm drawing a blank. I say Brian Blade. You got Thundercat's brother. I'm drawing a blank to his name. Ronald Bruner. I mean, black people start playing the drums. Shit. Anderson .Paak, yeah, Pocket Queen. She dope as fuck. There's plenty of dope ass black drummers out there. It's just that the black musicians don't get the access. Check out J-Mo just dropped a new album, J-Mo and the Greats. It's a really, really good rock album. It's rock and blues. It just dropped on Friday. Look up the album. It's called J-Mo and the Greats. That's the name of the band. No, ain't no issue with people who play the piano. Just the piano player had the biggest egos in the band. I have a question. Who has a bigger ego? The piano player, the singer, or the guitarist? Those are the three biggest egos in the band. Drums and bass be humble and chilling. But keyboard players got the biggest egos because keyboard players don't like each other. Keyboard players don't be liking it. That's y'all issue. Drummers be cool with everybody. Keyboard players, y'all egos be massive. Ooh, y'all egos be massive. Y'all do not like playing with each other. And the American drums speak a completely different language than African drums. It's like language itself. Every instrument that's tied to a landmass speaks the language of that landmass, no different than oral language. People in France speak French. You got the Swahili folks. You got the different Yoruba and Igbo languages. Every region has a language, and the drum set speaks English, American English at that, not British English. And that's the language I speak. I'm not gonna come in and try to be some arrogant asshole like, yes, and I know the chords, the minors and the majors. Man, I don't know that shit. I have a very surface level knowledge of that because I spent so many years in rehearsals and so I've heard so much talk. I know, yeah, I know what time it is. I got it. Um, I've heard so many talks about this kind of stuff, so I know, but I don't know that. I didn't study that part of music. Hell no. But back to what I was saying about everything with No Limit versus Cash Money. No Limit reached the top by focusing on the streets. The streets pushed No Limits #1 independently. The streets supported Cash Money too on a local level, but it was the corporations that pushed Cash Money to #1. And the beautiful thing about the stage tells the truth. That's one thing I love about the stage. Parliament had a song, the Funkadelic had a song called Let's Take It to the Stage.
Brownie?
I know. They had a song called Let's Take It to the Stage. And the stage tells the truth. In that booth, but you can't fool people on the stage. And when both share the stage, you saw the difference between what the street pushed to #1 versus what the corporals. What the streets pushed to #1 versus what the corporations put to #1. When you put them on stage next to each other, the streets are always gonna win. The streets pushed Kendrick to #1. Corporations pushed Drake to #1. You saw what happened. The streets pushed Chick Webb to #1. The corporations pushed Benny Goodman to #1. And as the story goes, Chick Webb washed the shit out of Benny Goodman. The streets always win. The streets always win. You're right, Kurt, because the streets are in tune with the universe. That's why. You're right, Hurt. The streets are in tune with the universe. Yep. I thought Juvie was the best out of Cash Money. I thought the streets chose Juvie. Remember, Lil Wayne kind of came out of nowhere. Lil Wayne wasn't the best one in the Hot Boys. Juvie was. Everyone loved when the Hot Boys was out. Everybody loved Juvenile. We like Lil Wayne, but we love Juvenile. Had Cash Money put his resources behind Juvenile adequately, properly, but Juvenile also wasn't pushing the take drug culture. Lil Wayne was. That's that corporate push. The corporate push. The corporate wants as much degeneracy and negativity out there. I never liked C Murder. I just hated his name. I couldn't get past the name C Murder. I was just tired of that kind of shit. I hated the social rags. I love Juvenile though. I thought Juvenile was the one. Yeah, C Murder. I just hated that name. Like, yeah, I don't want to be no murder nothing. Murder Moot, Murder Mace. Anybody named Murder, I just didn't like him. Still don't. I'm about to get up out of here. Know the difference between what the corporations pushed and what you pushed. All right? I'm out. Oh, yeah, join the Patreon.